Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
The Knock Knock Game by FreddeGran. It is called the Knock Knock Game. All you need is an empty room to play it. You will knock 2 times, wait for it, and you will hear a loud knock from the other side. Whatever you do, do not enter the room. The room will be empty, but something will be in there. Is it a demon? The devil himself? Or God? Perhaps an eldritch abomination? No one really knows. Maybe it's better to not know. I remember playing it as a kid at my friend Thomas's house. Him and Tobias, a fat and a bit slow kid that Thomas used to bully a lot, but still hung around because Tobias's parents were rich, so he had a lot of cool games for Nintendo NES and Sega Mega Drive, even the Mega CD and 32 times add-ons. I started to like Tobias more than Thomas. He was always making racist jokes and saying mean things about everybody. But we had agreed to come over to his house to play a game he had learned from a book that his dad supposedly had a copy of. It contained things like how to summon demons and how to raise the dead with necromancy. Or it did to Thomas anyway. He was a bit of a compulsive liar. He claimed it was called the Necronomicon, and it was made from human flesh and had the text written in human blood instead of ink. This seemed a bit much to believe, even for childhood me, but yet I was intrigued and just had to find out the truth. So we were off to Thomas's house. His parents were not home, so it was only us 3 boys in the house. We knocked on Thomas's bedroom door and waited for it. Nothing is happening. Tobias said that while munching on a chocolate bar. He really was a sweet tooth, and always eating sweets and drinking cans of soda pop. And then a loud sound from inside of Thomas's room, like someone was really mad and punched the door from the inside. I was scared as frick, almost pissed my pants, and carefully snuck to the door and peeked through the keyhole. Inside it was still empty. I want to go inside. Tobias dropped his chocolate bar on the floor, and me and Thomas had to hold him by his arms so he didn't do anything stupid. "Stop, you fat and stupid pig. You'll get yourself killed," Thomas shouted at him, a bit loud. Tobias started crying. "I will go first." Thomas did not seem to care and knocked 2 times. A knock was heard from the other room. "Are you a man or a woman?" Thomas asked. 2 knocks signaled no, heard from the other side. "Are you a demon or an angel?" I asked it. 2 knocks. No again. "Is it safe if we come inside?" Thomas asked. 2 loud bangs. No again, but it seemed angry this time. Maybe we should stop," I suggested. "No, keep going," Thomas commanded. Tobias was still crying. He seemed to get more and more afraid. I couldn't blame him, really. "Are you getting mad?" I asked. 1 loud bang. It was getting real mad. "Are my parents alive?" Thomas asked. "Ha, ha, 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 ha." Evil laughter from the other side, followed by 2 knocks. Tobias knocked and asked, "Can you speak?" "Yes," it answered in a voice so creepy, both me and Thomas fell to the floor. We were frozen with fear, but Tobias was not. He knocked again. "Do you have candy?" he asked naively. Yes, child, come inside. I was trying to speak, but I couldn't get a word out. In what seemed to be slow motion, I could see the fat kid turn the door handle, ready to go inside. I was ready to go up and stop him, but Thomas held me down. Tobias went inside the empty room, and the door slammed shut. I rushed up, but Thomas held me back. Don't be stupid. The fat kid is gone, but you're still here. No one can enter the room for another 24 hours. It got my parents. And him. It'll be satisfied. I peeked through the peephole, and the room was empty. I called Tobias's name, but no answer. Thomas knocked and asked if he enjoyed the fat boy as a sacrifice. Yes, the voice answered creepily. I just looked my former friend in the eye and left the house of evil to never return. This was years ago. I'm now grown up and moved to another city, living in a small one-bedroom apartment. I decided to summon the thing again. I knocked on the door to the bathroom. That's the only room where it could appear. I had bottles ready to piss in for 24 hours and would make sure no one would enter the bathroom. I knocked on the bathroom door 2 times, and it knocked back to signal its presence. But the knock was not from the bathroom. It was coming from the front door to my apartment. I looked out and there was no one there. It broke the rules. I can't go outside for 24 hours. But will it really be gone after that? It broke the rules once. I can hear laughter from outside. So quoth this raven. The Incomplete Theft by Ralph Burke. Stealing a new spaceship principle from Earth seemed like an easy enough task for the alien. But how does one deliver a principle? Torlin Kai smiled gently to himself as he thought of the approaching completion of the new Earth spaceship. Thus far, his disguise had completely fooled the Earthmen. They didn't even begin to suspect that Valdorian spy was among the engineers who was building the sky jumper. High above the space field it loomed, a great sphere of metal that housed the new teleportation device. Torlin Kai looked up at its impressive bulk. Unlike the common type of spaceship, which had a top speed of 10,000 lights, the new drive could take the ship from Earth to any point in the galaxy in a fraction of a microsecond. If it were successful, Earth would win the war against Valdor in a matter of months. And if not, John Mitchell, the chief engineer of Sahara Spaceport, said, "She's a beauty, ain't she, Pete?" Torlin Kai, in his disguise as an Earthman. Peter Blaine smiled and said, "Yes, she's a real beauty. When will she be finished?" "This afternoon," Mitchell said. "The boys are tightening all the last bolts and putting in the final wiring now. The job's just about over, Pete." Good, thought Torlin. I'll be able to take it tonight. To be able to bring both the spaceship's plans and the ship itself back to Valdor would be a major feat. It would result in a fine promotion. The ship was entirely different from any other vessel ever built. The hyperkinetic generator in its center generated a spherical force field around the ship, which projected it to wherever it had been aiming for. It was simple to operate. All the pilot has to do was set up the coordinates of his target, turn on the hyperkinetic generator, and press the activator button. The generator itself did the rest. The field enclosed the ship, and instantaneously the ship was 100 or 1,000 light years away. That evening, Torlin Kyle stepped out of his room and strolled over to the spaceship. It was surrounded by guards, and it was bathed in the blaze of a battery of searchlights. But that did not bother the Valorian. Earthmen were such stupid fools. It would be a blessing for them if the Valorians took them over and showed them how to run their lives efficiently. On Valdor, everyone had a job, and he did it. He obeyed his superiors without asking questions, and the society, therefore, was efficient. But these Earthmen, such a lax, sloppy, inefficient society. They needed more regimentation, more precision. They needed to learn to obey orders, and they would learn after the Valorian victory. "Evening, Mr. Mitchell." "Good evening, Captain. Nice night, isn't it?" Torlin Kai looked around warily and saw the lean, spare figure of John Mitchell standing some distance away. He was talking to a man in a military uniform, one of the guards posted on the project. The Valorian ducked away. He didn't care to be seen. Not tonight of all nights. He walked all around the spaceship, studying it carefully from all angles, keeping well out of sight of the guards that surrounded it. The ship appeared to be ready to go, but all he had to do was get inside and take off. Simple. Very simple, Torlin Kai thought. The greatest victories are always simple. The ship was supposed to be lifted above the atmosphere on her jets before the hyperkinetic generator was used. But the generator could, in an emergency, be used on the ground. Torlin Kai smiled. As far as he was concerned, this would be an emergency. The Earthmen, he thought pleasantly, would feel very foolish when their greatest ship simply vanished from under their noses. After making a thorough reconnaissance of the area, the Valdorian decided he was ready. He switched on the tiny power pack at his waist, and the invisibility belt he was wearing was energized. If anyone had been watching the shadows where Torlin Kai was standing, they would have seen a faint blue glow as the Valdorian faded slowly from sight. Then, boldly, the alien strode towards the sky jumper. Nothing stood in the way of success now. He walked directly across the well-lighted safety area, and the guards paid not the slightest attention. At the airlock door, he paused to take stock of the situation. He had to move fast now. The success of the whole mission depended on timing from here on out. The guards, naturally, would see the airlock door swing open. They would know something was wrong. It would take them, he estimated, about 4 minutes to bring up heavy armament to blast the door open. Moistening his lips nervously, he decided to correct the estimate. Better make it 3 minutes for safety's sake, he thought. In that time, he would have to warm up the generator and punch the coordinates for the planet Valdor into the big guiding computer. Doing that would require, say, 2 minutes, giving him a minute's leeway. Good. He waited until all the guards seemed to be looking away from the airlock door. Then he pressed the lock. The door swung open, and Torlin Kai stepped quickly inside. There was a shout from one of the guards below, but they were too late to do anything. The Valdorian had the airlock door closed before they could see what was happened. He turned the master switch on the inside of the door, which locked the door against any outside interference. He grinned sardonically. The fool Earthmen would have a devil of a time doing anything now. The next thing was to switch off his invisibility belt. It was difficult to do delicate work if you couldn't see your own arms and fingers, and punching coordinates into a computer was a delicate job. He turned towards the inner door, and at that moment the door opened. An Earthman stepped out. An engineer named Harris, who had apparently been making some last-minute adjustments on the ship. "Oh, hello, Blaine," Harris said. Without a word, the Valdorian leapt forward, taking the Earthman by surprise. He slammed his fist into Harris's abdomen, and he doubled up in pain. Torlin Kai jumped back as the Earthman's foot suddenly sliced towards him. The toe of the engineer's foot hit him stingingly alongside the jaw, but the Valdorian managed to grasp the foot and twist. Then he bent and picked Harris up and knocked him down again with the crash of blow to the chin. He left the unconscious Earthman on the floor, locking him inside the airlock. He would be no trouble there. The real trouble was the fight had delayed his timing. It must have taken all of a minute, and in a split second, such as an interval of a minute could be fatal. Without wasting any more time, he got moving. His jaw hurt where the Earthman had slugged him, and his fingers felt stiff. He ran down the corridor to the control room. The big automatic computer was ready to go. Torlin Kai switched it on, waiting for a moment, and then hastily began punching coordinates into the computer. He had to hurry. The Earthmen might blast their way into the ship at any moment. Still, he dared not make an error. If he did, the ship might end up 1,000 light years from where it was supposed to materialize, perhaps in the heart of a sun. There was perspiration dripping from his brow by the time he was finished. He turned on the hyperkinetic generator and waited for it to warm up. Still there was no sound from the airlock. A red light on the control panel came on, telling him the generator was ready. With a triumphant smile, Torlin Kai reached out and pressed the activator stud. Outside the ship, the guards watched the airlock door. "I wonder why Dr. Harris did that," said a lieutenant. "Who knows?" a sergeant replied. They had seen the airlock open and close, but knowing that Harris was still inside, they had thought little of it. Still, it was odd. The airlock door swung open again. Harris stepped out, looking dazed. The lieutenant ran towards him, and quickly the engineer explained what happened. "You mean he's inside there? We've got to stop him." "You're too late," Harris said. "He didn't know that I was doing some adjustments inside there. Go ahead and look." The lieutenant went to the inner door of the airlock and peered in. The whole inside of the ship was gone, vanished as though it had never been there. "I just made a slight adjustment of the generator," Harris said quietly. "The power field was cut down so the projection field was smaller. I'm afraid our spy simply projected the insides of the spaceship out into the interstellar vacuum and left the hull behind." He shook his head grimly. "Poor devil. He'll have quite a surprise in store for him, unless he can live without air." So quoth this raven. Let me see, my darlings. This is, of course, from 1957, Imagination Stories of Science Fiction and Fantasy. I absolutely knew it had to be in the 50s. Can't you just feel the Cold War completely in this story? Just the just the complete taste and tone of it is completely Cold War era. Well, it's a short video this week. I hope you enjoyed the 2 stories. And more Lacey on Thursday. Bye-bye, my darlings. Thank you so kindly for stopping by my chateau, my darlings. It does mean so much to me. Please, if you have not subscribed, as many of you have not, please do so. Give me a like so I know what you would like to hear. And comment. I always love to read your comments. And special thanks to my Patreon and membership supporters. Ciao, darlings.